Hello, everyone. Welcome to Double Shot of Steelers. I'm Chris Halleck. This show is brought to you by FanDuel, and there is no DK today. He is flying back from Dublin, Ireland today, along with the boss. And so you're stuck with me today, and I apologize for that. It is what it is, but we're going to talk about football one way or another. So appreciate it. And even like we had some questions for those who were filing in, watching live. Asking like, is DK filling this from the tarmac? No, he's not. He is. I don't know where he is right now. I would assume 35,000 feet up in the air over the Atlantic Ocean. That's what I would assume. Or he's in Reykjavik right now, which is a nice little airport. I got a little magnet from there while I was there on the way. But yeah, so we're gonna talk about Steelers football today. They were back on the South Side today. Really appreciate just really quick, just really appreciate you guys, everything that you guys have done for following us, the meetup that we had over in Dublin. It was phenomenal. It was great. I was left speechless over it. Still have a hard time putting together words to describe just how grateful I was for all that. So yeah, it's I'm really grateful. Anyway, so back onto actual business. Yes, the Steelers are back on the South Side today. Nothing. Nothing's going on there. We pretty much talked to a lot of the assistant coaches, and I'm going to have stuff, on our app in our Steelers feed over the next several days because the Steelers are not going to be there. Players have to be off mandatory 4 days, and we need content. So we talked with all these assistant coaches. I talked with Arthur Smith today, talked with a lot of the, I think everybody except for Terrell Austin, Scott McCurley, and I think there's one other one I'm forgetting about, but man, it's so much. And Jose giving me a nice welcome home here, or Jose Negron, our Pirates reporter. Appreciate that, Jose. But Dublin was a lot of fun, man. It was so much fun. I had a blast. Did a lot of work, but didn't get to sightsee as much as I wanted to, but I got to see enough of Dublin. But I'm definitely going back one day, and I'm going to bring my family with me next time. So yeah, but lots of content is coming over the next few days. But one thing I really wanted to hit on, and then we can get into, us talking. You guys kind of drive the show a lot like the way DK did yesterday while I was flying back home. You guys can, I guess, okay, really quick. I'll hit on, before I get into this, I'll hit on, because a lot of people are asking, any word on the injuries to Calvin Austin and Ramsey? No, there is no word. No word yet. I saw Calvin. Oh, here we go. DK, he's in the house flying over Greenland with Wi-Fi. Woohoo. So DK is watching from the plane, which is kind of cool. I was not. I did not get the Wi-Fi while I was on the flight, even though I was trying to stay awake on the flight back. I think that's the trick. Over on the way over there, you want to sleep as much as you can, and then on the way back, you want to stay awake because you want to transition, make sure that it's nighttime. You're trying to sleep when it's night wherever you are. And so I downloaded about a season and a half of Ted Lasso and watched that on the plane to stay awake. So yeah, it was really cool, but no, there's nothing new on Ramsey or Austin. Ramsey, I didn't even see today. Austin, I did see. He was not in a sling. But I have a hard time putting any kind of prognosis on Calvin Austin based off of the fact that, and oh gosh, I'm just reading the comments. Okay, let's get this out of the way really quick. Zach says, Ramsey pulled up holding his hamstring on the first series. Why was he allowed to keep playing, making it worse? Ramsey was not injured. That is a celebration that has been done in the past by other players, including Justin Jefferson, who he was playing against in that game. That was not an injury. So yeah, no, like as soon as I saw it, of course, my brain starts thinking, oh my gosh, he's injured. But then as soon as he starts doing the little dance, the little, whatever it was, I'm not hip on the dance lingo of today's day and age, but No, he was not injured on that play. The time that I remember him coming up and actually showing injury, showing really, really being hurt. I mean, now Chris brings up another point, pretty foreboding though. Yeah, well, there you go. Joseph says the gritty. There you go. Much my son does the gritty, so I should know that. No, it was on a incomplete pass down the right sideline, and he came up like he came off the field and was really, really favoring it, not like reaching back for it, but really favoring it, and then slammed his helmet down as he went to the bench. Like you could tell he was not happy with that. Yeah. So no, that play at the beginning was not that. And if it was, then it's a legitimate question. But so nothing new on the Austin Ramsey front. So anyway, let's get to kind of what, at least one theme I wanted to hit on today, because a lot of people think that the only way to really take chunks out of the defense through the air is through throwing the ball downfield. That's just, and sure, it's a great way to do it, man. It looks pretty, and you put the ball up, and especially when you have a guy like Russell Wilson last year who can throw a great deep ball. It looks phenomenal. It's also not the only way to take chunks out of the defense through the air. And as we're seeing the way the Steelers are attacking defenses, and it was especially so against the Vikings, but it's not like this has been that. It's not like that was an isolated incident. We've seen this now for 4 weeks. And Eric kind of says it here. Everyone plays with 2 high safeties these days. Yes, cover 2 is more prominent. Cover 4 especially is very, very popular. It's hard to stretch the field whenever defenses are doing that. And so the best way to do that, DK comes through. Deshaun's Irish jig didn't get nearly enough love. And with that, I'll sign off. No, you can keep watching, DK. But no, it was awesome. And also, honestly, Ben Skoronek's Irish jig after his tackle on punt coverage, I thought was also worthy of consideration. And Williams kind of getting us in the right direction. The quick passes align more to Rodgers' strengths. Yes, they are. That is part of it. You want to play to your strengths. You want to coach to your strengths. And your strengths right now are having a quarterback that operates out of the quick game very, very well. You have receivers and tight ends that are very, very good at making things happen after the catch. And when you have that, that is one way that you can attack defenses. And so I wanted to kind of bring that up with Arthur Smith when we spoke with him today. And I'm going to pull this up for you just so you can hear his explanation of it. And then I'm going to give you some further context on that, which is just another reason why you should get our app, because if you had our app and have had our app for months, or at least a couple of months, you would have already read a piece on this, and you might remember it. But first, I'll let Arthur Smith explain why should not only stretching the field be the only way to take chunks out of the defense through the air.
There's a pretty big emphasis throughout the league, or at least for the way people evaluate, I guess, on how many air yards a quarterback averages or anything like that. But as another way to be effective in terms of taking chunks out of the defense, also being able to make the short passes and get a lot of catch and run, because you guys have a lot of yak right now.
Yeah, and that's a little bit of a strategy about how you're constructed. There's 2 ways to do it. I mean, it may not look as pretty if the ball's not in the air 55 yards, but the way that they're going to play too. If you got guys that are hard to tackle and people want to play you in a lot of shell defenses, well, then the space is underneath. I mean, you're really going where they're not, and you got a guy that can. We have multiple guys that can one break tackles or run out of it before they get to them, and that's stuff we've been working on. We've been moving DK around all year. And that's why you continue to work, and that's the things that these guys understand. And we got a hell of a challenge to come about with this bye. I mean, Cleveland's one of the best defenses in the league. It's a good little break, well deserved, coming out after Ireland. But a lot of ways to do it. I mean, you see screens that hit for 70 yards, And there's sometimes that are go balls outside, or they're, middle of the field, 3-level play passes, play action, whatever you want to call it. There's catch and runs like that. And it always helps too when you're not sitting in that pocket for 2.5, 3 seconds.
Yeah. Do you trust this offensive line to protect Aaron Rodgers for 2.5 to 3 seconds most of the time? No. But he's also right. This is the way, and this is what I'm talking about. I remember I had a conversation with Arthur Smith during training camp. It was mainly talking about like WR2 and all these things, all these different ways that you can create ways to take chunks out of defenses. And I knew that he wanted to do more things than just throw the go ball, because there are different ways to do it. And one way that he did it so well in Tennessee, and this, what he told me, was through catch and run. And you look at the guys that they had on that team, AJ Brown being one of them. I mean, he had a catch and run against the Steelers. And Jonnu Smith was also on those teams. Like, you had guys who could really make defenses pay with the catch and run. And that's why you're seeing Aaron Rodgers get rid of the ball so quickly. It's not just to protect the offensive line. I absolutely think that is part of it. I don't think that they trust that offensive line to protect Aaron. And the first couple of weeks kind of proved that. But there, again, when you see the way, and as much credit as DK Metcalf deserves for that play, and he does, because that was phenomenal. It wasn't just him. Play design had a lot to do with that. Calvin Austin on the backside of the play is running an inside stem and pretty much trying to run a go ball. It's not a go ball, but run like a skinny post to the middle of the field. And in doing so, he took his zone defender too deep, and the safety on the weak side of the play started to pick up Austin, because Austin's speed, he can get down there in a hurry. And by the time that Metcalf catches the ball and runs to that side, that safety doesn't have a chance. So play design is part of this too. This is having an offensive coordinator that knows how to attack this stuff, knows how to create room for his players, for his yak guys. And yes, the Steelers are currently leading the league in average yards after the catch. And that's not just because of Metcalf's 80-yard touchdown. They've been doing this. Think back to week 1. Metcalf had a couple of those. Metcalf alone, just of all receivers, leads the league in yak. But there have been a couple times in which Jonnu's done it. There have been some other opportunities for guys to get yak yards after the catch, and this is another way to do it. And the great thing is that when you continue to hit underneath, and then you can also add into that the ability to run the ball, which the Steelers did, and I've been harping on that for days now. I harped on that all week leading into the game, that they got to run the ball. Well, they ran the ball, and so when you're able to hit these short underneath passes and you're able to run the ball, you're going to force defenses that want to play too high to bring an extra guy down, and then that's when you take the top off. So, yeah. Anyway, we're gonna take a break, and we'll be back, and we'll start making this more of a conversation. You guys bring your questions. You guys are gonna kind of drive the rest of the show. A lot easier, because I'm a one-man show today. I'm handling your comments. I'm handling the ad transitions, everything. I'm host producer today, so you guys get in the co-host chair with me, and we'll keep this bad boy going. But first, before we continue to talk about the Steelers, about what to expect heading into this bye week, what to expect coming out of the bye, the fact that the team's 3-1, whatever you want to talk about, we'll talk about it. But first, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Double Shot of Steelers right after this.
Hey guys, if you're planning to see a Steelers game, use the Game Time app to get your tickets. You can snag new ticket deals before anyone, if you set it into your app alerts. The app is easy to use. No surprise fees at checkout. You can see your seat view before buying, and you're getting legit tickets delivered on time. If you're not much of a planner, you can get last-minute deals on tickets right up to the start of the event. Lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app and enter the code DK Steelers into your app profile to get $20 off your first purchase.
Ball is in full swing. The season is not just here, it is in full swing. The Steelers are about to go into a bye, but hey, it's now time. Doesn't matter if the Steelers are playing or not, it's time to check out the FanDuel Sportsbook, who always has the latest odds, futures, and win totals. If you think the Steelers are now bound for the AFC North, to win the AFC North, or maybe even to the Super Bowl, you better lock in your bet today, because whatever your game, the FanDuel Sportsbook delivers the latest lines, futures, and specials, so you can join in on all the action. Randy asks, how slippy was that Irish field? Fortunately for our Steelers, Justin Jefferson slipped after a wide open reception. I did not step onto the pitch at all, so I cannot tell you one way or another how slippy it was. But it was obviously, I mean, it caused some problems for sure. Let's see here. Elwin asks, any talk about Johnny Smith replacing Austin in WR2? Smith only had a minimum amount of snaps. This is the same conversation we were having, a while ago. Johnny Smith is not a receiver. You're not replacing a receiver with a tight end. You're just not. Another guy is, I mean, think about it. Think about just the little things that Austin, think about that play with DK Metcalf I was just talking about. That side of the field is opened up because of Calvin Austin's speed. Nobody in the tight end room has that speed. Sure, you can have an extra tight end out there to help block, and then that can help you maybe in the run game, but it's not going to help you when it comes to having passing concepts develop the way you want to develop them. Tight ends and receivers are different. Even for a tight end, as versatile and as good of a pass catcher as Johnny Smith is, he's not Calvin Austin. He does not have the skill set that Calvin Austin has, or even close to it. You don't even want Ben Skoranek running that, because he does not have that kind of a speed. Scotty Miller would probably be the next guy. Roman Wilson could also be that next guy, because Roman Wilson at least has a lot of good speed. But no, that's not a thing. Andy, Chris, did you bring back a new hat? Actually, I did not. I spent all of my souvenir money on stuff for my family, for my wife and kids. I had the experience of being in Ireland, and they did not. So I am more, I'm very, very thankful for that. But yeah, no, next time when we're all there together, yeah, I'll get more stuff. Coley asks, any word on Trice coming off IR? No word on that at all. We'll see what happens after the bye. I know the Ramsey thing is going to have people freaked out. It's a hamstring injury. The good thing is you have the bye right now, so he's not going to miss like the next game right away. Like, he could still miss the next game, but he'll at least be another week healed by that point. So we'll see. William, how limited, he asks, how limited are the Steelers going to be with Ramsey out? I mean, they've been limited without Joey Porter Jr. Now they're going to have him back. I don't want to, that's not like inside reporting. That's just my gut feeling. I mean, he was questionable and probably knocking on the door of being ready to play this past week. But yeah, no, but they've been limited without Porter. And so if they don't have Ramsey and they bring Porter back, at least you still have two of the three coverage people guys. But no, they'll absolutely be limited. And you would think that maybe Brandon Echols, takes over that main nickel spot. And the way Echols is played, I mean, that's a very, very good replacement right now. That's a great thing to have. But yeah, of course you're going to be limited. Anytime you're missing a player like Jalen Ramsey, it's gonna Yeah, that's going to sting. David asks, who took the snap on the tush push? You guys might not have seen it, but that was Connor Hayward who took the snap. And talking with the players today, Darnell Washington actually said that because he was one of the guys that was behind to push the tush. He didn't push the tush. He kind of picked up the tush and like carried it forward. So I know some people were like, maybe Darnell should be that guy. I almost want Darnell being the guy doing the pushing because good luck. Good luck stopping that. But no, that was Connor Hayward. And I asked him today, I was like, when did they approach you about doing that? And he said back in the summer. So this has been in the works for a while. And then I asked him, like, had he had any previous experience of, taking snaps from under center? And he said, like, yeah, like high school and like Pee Wee and stuff like that. But he said, even in high school, we were mainly in shotgun. But Aaron Rodgers actually gave him some pointers on taking a snap. And he told him about this thing where you I was about to do the Napoleon Dynamite Bird thing, but you interlock your thumbs like this, pretty much. You interlock your thumbs when you put your hands underneath, and it helps you secure the snap. And he's like, that's obviously like the most important part, secure the snap. And then you are going forward to then be pushed by your teammates who are behind you. Balo asks, should it be concerning for his future how little Roman Wilson is seeing the field so far? No, I wouldn't say concerning. I would just say that he's got proving to do. I mean, he obviously does. I mean, you can look a certain way in the preseason, but it almost doesn't matter. It's not like he's not been out on the field. He has been. You got to get open. He's not been out there that often, but this might be a situation in which, hey, trial by fire. Caleb Johnson had absolutely, I'm going to say lost the trust, but the Steelers were definitely doing a hard reset on Caleb Johnson. I mean, he didn't even play the week after he had the debacle, but then, Jaylen Warren goes down. He doesn't play in this game against the Vikings. Well, you don't have a choice now. Like, you got to play him and you got to give him carries. And first couple carries weren't great, but he eventually, he had a couple of nice carries in there. Looked way more confident than he had pretty much at any point so far in his very, very short or like the early stages of his Steelers career. But, maybe this injury to Austin is now his opportunity to take advantage of it. So a lot of questions about Corey Trice. I mean, we'll see. I mean, he's been on IR for the minimum amount of time, but even if they get back from the bye and they like activate him, he's got to be like returned to well, it's not even activating. They have to return him to practice, and then they have a 21-day window for him to practice, and then for them to decide whether he can come back or whether they are going to keep him on IR for the rest of the year. And those decisions are like have to be made. Like, they have to be really, really cognizant of how they manage those, because you only have 8. You only have 8 like to return from IR, and Trice is already one of them because they already designated him for that. So, we'll see. We'll see. You guys talking about a hangover. David Harrison, Chris brought back a hangover. I did not. The hangover stayed in Ireland. That's for sure. You guys are awesome. All right, you guys bring in the questions. Bring in the questions. Oh, here's a good one. Slim, how important was Elliott being missed? That was crucial. Yeah, Patrick Queen talked about it after the game. He's like, you guys know that's my guy. Yeah, that's he's a communicator. He's like the most reliable tackler on that defense. No, they missed him big time. And I mean, so much so that like Peppers didn't even play. Like Elliott played, I think he played 100% of the snaps, if I remember correctly. Like he was out there the entire time. They love him, and he loves playing for them. There is no doubt about that. Adam here is saying gap power with pullers is clearly more effective and familiar to this offensive line. They used a good amount of outside zone in this game, more outside zone than anything else. A lot of the stuff that was going to the outside was outside zone. They just did it with an extra offensive lineman, and it worked. They can run outside zone. That's not, and actually what they did in the game was they ran like that, wide zone, outside zone, and married duo with it. The run that Kenneth Gainwell almost scored a second touchdown on and eventually then got in from 4 yards out. That run, it was a really, really nice run. He had made a really nice cut on it. That was on duo. So yeah, that was and really, really quick. I'm going through the comments here. 5 Red Files says Ramsey was instrumental in communication. That is probably the biggest thing that they would miss if Ramsey misses games. The miscommunication, I was actually told this today by the players, like by a very, very prominent player in this defense who knows about communication. I'm not going to name the player, but I'll let you put 2 and 2 together on that one. Ramsey is the primary communicator for the secondary. And so when the secondary has their own checks that they have to make. And on that particular play, on the play that they had the busted coverage on, where Jordan Addison went off and Peyton Wilson made the phenomenal play of running him down, Ramsey wasn't out there because of the injury. Brandon Echols was also not out there because he was cramping up. And this is what Mike Tomlin was talking about. Like, we were bleeding, like we were leaking in the secondary. Your main communicator in the secondary is off the field. Your then secondary communicator for the secondary is Echols, and he's not out there either. So you're down your 2 primary communicators for the secondary, and that's why 2 guys went to one zone, and the one guy who was supposed to be the high, because they were in cover 2, that was supposed to be the high, the high defender covering that half of the field, wasn't back there. So that was the big problem. That was the breakdown. And if Ramsey's out there, or even if Echols is out there, that most likely does not happen. So, yes, that would be the biggest thing that they would miss more than anything with if Ramsey misses games, is who is going to take over. I would assume Echols, but then you have to have another backup. Maybe it's Elliott. Maybe Elliott becomes that guy. But Ramsey is that guy right now, and that'd be a big mess. Chris B71 says Aaron Rodgers standing behind everyone was a riot. That was hilarious. He did look like an old man at a urinal. I mean, he just did. Dwight asks, how sustainable is the 6 offensive linemen plus Washington with Austin out? I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I would be using this, especially if defenses are going to be playing too high. If you just think about it, it's just basic arithmetic. If you have 2 high defenders, which means you have 2 high safeties, and you have the 2 outside corners, that's 4 players. 11 minus 4 is 7. Now, think about this. 6 offensive linemen plus Darnell Washington. 7 on 7. You have 1 man blocking 1 man, and they're all offensive linemen or a tight end that blocks like an offensive lineman. Why not use it? Now, if they bring an extra guy down into the box, then that's when you could start doing things like, trying to do different things to take the top off. I would be doing that, not exclusively, but I would continue to do this quite a bit until defenses force you to do something else. Bus driver Al asks, Chris, I know the bye week is great for healing guys. Do you think it will hurt the momentum they're gathering? It's also a good question. I asked Pat Freiermuth today about that, but I also asked it in the context, having covered this team now. The bye week has been very beneficial for this team in a number of ways. Number one, Mike Tomlin is phenomenal at winning games off of a bye week. Yes, the Browns are going to present a lot of challenges for them with their defense, for sure. Not denying that at all, but Mike Tomlin's team's playing after the bye week. I don't remember the exact record, but his record is it's phenomenal. But also they have used the bye week to really, really take a good look at what they're doing and what's working, what's not working. Now, this is when you like it to be later in the season because you have a larger sample size to see what's working, what's not working against teams that are pretty much already in, like, they're not feeling things out still in September and everything. Well, that's all they're going to be getting is their games, their September selves, and that's what they're going to be basing their adjustments off of. But it's been very beneficial for them in the past, none more so than 2022 when they went into the bye 2-6 and finished the season 9-8. Yes, the schedule played a big role in that, but you still went 7-2 over a 9-game stretch. I don't care who you play in the NFL. That's an impressive stretch. And their adjustments at the bye week absolutely played a role in that. So I actually think it's still going to be beneficial for them. So we'll see. Paul asks, Chris, who's your first quarter team MVP? Oh, man. Hard to say. There are a number of different ways you could go with this. Because it's not like it's just been TJ going off on defense. Nick Herbig's been great, especially stepping up, when Alex Highsmith went down. Patrick Queen has been way better than people give him credit for. PFF has got to have something against the guy. I don't know what it is. It's ridiculous. Ramsey's been great. Elliott, when he's been out there, has been great. But then on the offensive side, I think Aaron Rodgers, outside of a couple of forced throws against Seattle and then one forced throw against the Patriots, has been very, very good. Just because his average depth of target is so low, I don't look at that as some sort of like they're handicapping him because he can't throw anymore or anything. We know the arm is there. All you have to do is look at the pass that Freiermuth dropped against the Seahawks to know that arm is still there. That's not the reason why they're throwing short. Yeah. I don't know. I have a hard time. I might say Rodgers, honestly, because I don't think the offense is where they are without him. I don't think if Mason Rudolph is the quarterback that they're in the same spot. I think with what Rodgers has done, the way he's been a leader, because I think he's also doing a lot of things that are very intangible, that are not, you cannot pull them up in the box score and look at it and put your finger on it and say, this is what Aaron Rodgers is doing to help the team, or to pull it up on PFF or any other analytics website and to put your finger on that and say, that's what Aaron Rodgers is doing. I think he's also doing a lot of things that you can't measure. Being a leader, his cadence at the offensive line, his pre-snap communication. There are a lot of things that you cannot quantify that I think he's doing very, very well. Andrew asks, is Will Howard off IR yet? No, he is not. He is not. Useless knowledge. Do you think Ramsey's injury will be long-term? He's been providing a lot of playmaking on defense. It's too early to tell. It's a hamstring injury. It depends on how bad it is. I would assume he's had a scan by now, and we'll see. We'll see what the news is on that. A couple of times I've seen this come up. Randy asks, Chris, all Jordan Mason needed to do was touch the fumble while being out of bounds. I'm still baffled by that rule. So going and looking back at it, I think it's pretty much the same principle as when on a kickoff, when the ball is about to go out of bounds, or it's about to go out of bounds, the player will go out of bounds first, then grab the ball. That way it makes the ball out of bounds. Because technically the ball is then out of bounds because the person possessing the ball is out of bounds. So therefore the ball is out of bounds, which is then what puts the ball at the 40-yard line. I think it's the same principle because if you fumble the ball and the ball bounces out of bounds, the offensive team retains possession of the ball. So I think at that point, Jordan Mason is out of bounds because his body is out of bounds and he touches the ball. So therefore, the ball is then technically out of bounds, which then makes the ball fumbled out of bounds, which the offense then retains. That's how I understand it. We'll see if that's actually the right way, but that's my interpretation of it. Man, a guy's asking about Will Howard. I understand about like what happened with Skyler and everything, but also Skyler is on IR too. Justin asks, Chris, do you think Gainwell's patience pressing his keys helped the offensive line in the run blocking? Sure, of course. I thought he did a great job of both being patient and, putting a foot in the ground and going. But Jaylen Warren does that too. So I think if Jaylen Warren runs behind that, I think he has a good day too. He might even have a better day. But I think the run game success and Kenneth Gainwell said it after the game. And I'm not taking anything away from Gainwell. I thought he ran the ball very, very well. I think it was the third quarter, because I write two pieces after each game. I write the big play and then the big player. And it was like early in the third quarter. I'm like, I'm thinking about Gainwell for big player. I thought he was on a great game, but I also think the offensive line really did a great job. It was one of their best performances. I mean, definitely their best performance of the season for sure. But yeah, no, I think the offensive line had a big role in that. Isaiah asks, Chris, does the offense need to be more aggressive going for on fourth down, downfield throws? Well, I've already addressed the downfield throw stuff. Once the show is over, I urge you to go back and watch the beginning. You don't just have to throw the ball downfield to take chunks out of the defense. Catch and run has been a big part of what they've done. It's not just DK Metcalf. They are leading the NFL in yak right now, like the Steelers are. Not just DK Metcalf. He is leading all receivers in yak, but the Steelers are leading all 32 teams in yak right now. Like that is another way, and that's the way they did it with. Now, granted, the Titans hit all three out of the park whenever Arthur Smith was the offensive coordinator. They had chunk runs all the time because they had Derrick Henry, who was becoming King Henry at the time. They had the play action game with Ryan Tannehill and the tight ends and AJ Brown. So they were able to then take chunks out of the defense through play action. But then they also had a lot of catch and run stuff too. They hit all three, and that's why they were top 10 one year and then top 5 another year. That's why they were a great offense. It wasn't just so many people are like, they were only great because of Derrick Henry. No, they weren't. No, they were not. They were a great offense because they could attack you in a number of ways. That's what this offense wants to get to. They want to get to this. And this past Sunday is a great example of what it can look like because the Steelers were running the ball well. They were hitting the quick passes really well. The only thing that's missing at that point is also hitting the play action, taking chunks out of play action and being able to hit those deep balls as well. It's not just, hey, we've seen what an offense looks like when it's just, hey, we got to throw the ball downfield. We got to throw the ball downfield. We got to throw the ball downfield. That's the 2024 Steelers with Russell Wilson. If you want to get back to that, we've seen how that movie plays out. We know how that movie ends. You got to be able to hit it a number of ways. And the best and the great thing is that when you can hit these quick hitters with run after the catch, with getting that yak built up, you're going to be able to take the top off eventually because defenses are going to have to stop just letting you get that stuff underneath. So, let's see. Randy, what about Ben Skoronek's acting job getting us an extra 15 yards? Hey, man. Ben Skowronek is a valuable player in his own way, man. He really, really is. Justin says, I feel like their method for communicating these checks aren't as effective as they could be. There's so many busts this season. They are getting better at them. There weren't as many. There haven't been as many over the past 2 weeks. And I think they were starting to really tighten that up. But I really, really think that there's a lot of merit to what a lot of people think that Mike Tomlin gets behind the podium and he just makes up excuses for why certain things happen. Having talked with the players and getting the exact process of how the communication goes on a play, and to know that you're not just primary communicator in the secondary, but your two primary communicators in the secondary were not out there for a busted coverage play. That's not surprising. I don't know how efficient you could possibly be. It can't just be one guy doing all the communication. There has to be multiple guys communicating and being the main communicator. Queen is responsible for getting obviously getting the play out there, but then a lot of the other things, but he can't go to all other 10 guys and say, hey, this is where you need to be. This is where you need to go. He has his own job to do too. Nice Tokes asks, has Arthur Smith done enough in 4 games to convince critics that the offense is trending upward in consistency? I mean, I think so. I think the offense is definitely heading in the right direction. I absolutely do. And I think the one thing we were really missing to this point, the first thing that we were missing is running the ball. We know the quick game has been able to work. We saw in one game how the play action can work. That was against the Jets, and it worked very well. Aaron Rodgers had a 138.5 passer rating out of play action, with 3 of his 4 touchdown passes coming off of those. But you got to run the ball. And when you run the ball, everything else can open up. Everything else can work. They got to run the ball. The fact that they got to this, and again, the fact that they did this against a very good Minnesota defense. It's not like they went against Cincinnati and did this. They did this against a very, very good defense. I didn't see it coming. For sure. I did not see it coming. Sebastian asks, hey, Chris, would you trade for a wide receiver at the deadline? It depends on who's available. It depends. It depends on who's available. Chris Olave is going to be a name that comes up a lot. You can't trade for Tyreek Hill now because he's out for the year. I don't think there are going to be a lot of really intriguing options. I know some people are like, I even saw Jets are 0-4, and I'm already seeing Garrett Wilson be floated out there. I'm like, man, did you guys watch the 2024 Jets before Devontae Adams got acquired? Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson do not get along. I don't want that. The only way that could work. The only way that could work is because you'd have DK Metcalf on the other side. That's the only way. He's a really talented receiver, but it did not mesh. They had some good games. No doubt. They had some good games, but Champion at the Bit asks, what are you planning for Chalk Talk during the bye? Well, I'm going to have one. I was starting to do it today, but it's going to have to be put off until tomorrow. So I'm going to have one coming out tomorrow. I'm going to do one on the offense, one on the defense. It's not going to be as singularly focused. But I'm going to do at least 2 during the bye week for sure. To look and mainly looking at the Minnesota game, because I think this is the template for what they want to do. Yeah. All right. Let me try to get to some more of your questions. Man, you guys are bringing it today. Really appreciate that. I love the hate on PFF. Isaiah says PFF is horrible on anything Steelers. I mean, they give Cam his due, but the issue I have with PFF, and this is the big thing, Chris says PFF doesn't know the schematic design. It's not that they don't know the schematic design. They don't know who's responsible for what They could like look at a play just like I can look at a play and say, oh, that was cover 2 or that was cover 3 or, whatever. But they don't know what calls were made, like what checks were made before the snap. Like, for example, the touchdown to Torrey Horton against the Seahawks, they counted that against Jalen Ramsey because Ramsey was the closest defender. That was not on Ramsey. That was a bust between Thornhill and Slay because Thornhill didn't communicate, or he did communicate and Slay didn't hear it or didn't get the communication. And so their communication breakdown led to Torrey Horton running across and Ramsey chasing after him when he shouldn't have been chasing after him at all. If everything would have gone the way it was supposed to be, Slay would have, because they were running 2 high crossers going across, Slay would have passed his one off as Thornhill crashed down on the guy running lower, while the guy who was running back across towards Slay, he would have passed off the lower guy, then backed off and taken the higher guy who was running right into him. That wasn't communicated. Busted coverage. But it wasn't on Ramsey. They don't know. They don't know. I had a really, really good conversation with a player before the week before I went to Ireland. And I wish I could I really wish I could. It was one of those conversations I wish I would have been able to get on the record for you guys because good Lord. I mean, good Lord. They hate PFF. Players hate PFF. And they hate it for a number of reasons, but one of the big reasons is becoming that they are starting to have and have been having more of an effect on like award voting. Like the year that Myles Garrett won Defensive Player of the Year, at least one really prominent PFF guy had he was a voter. And do you think that like PFF has that kind of influence? Yes, they do. They have influence to on the people who are actually voting for the awards. It's crazy. And their grading system is admittedly subjective. They admit it is subjective. Like I remember when he was still there. He's with the 33rd team now. But PFF Sam, he was the big guy there. And he was explaining their grading system and he used the word subjective. To me, you've lost all credibility at that point in terms of an objective grade. You're trying to quantify a player's performance with a number. That number should be an objective number, not subjective. WAR in baseball, you can plug numbers into a formula and the number is produced. Numbers are not biased. It's just not. 2 + 2 always equals 4. There's no argument for it ever equaling 5 or 3. You can plug numbers into WAR, and you can like agree with WAR, not agree with WAR, but at least it's a formula. At least it's something that you just plug numbers into. That's not the case with PFF. They weigh certain things. They also like the way they measure what a big time throw is and what a big time throw isn't. Like, come on, man. It's bad. It's bad. They have a lot of really good objective stats, like stats that I use. And there's the reason I have a subscription there. I do not have a subscription for their grading system. Their grading system is trash. Just is. Let's see. Chris says, more play action, more seam routes. I think you're going to see more of that. Especially if they continue to run the ball well, you will see more of that. Two-Bets says, tush push usage, Chris. I mean, we've seen it once now. We've seen it once. And it worked. Probably would have liked to see it on that 3rd and 1 again, but we'll see. Let me get to the most recent comments here because you guys are whoo. Chris taking a shot at Common Core. PFF uses Common Core math. 2 + 2 = 7. Yeah, well. Robert says, I still don't know how the heck a quarterback pressure is better than a sack. Yeah. Pressures are great. Pressures absolutely have an effect. They can force incompletions, they can force interceptions, they can force a number of different ways, a number of different things. Great. So okay, here's the one coaching decision that DK and I had a debate about this when we did our show to wrap it up. David says, how about the 4th and 1 before the punt? My instinct, and for me, a lot of offensive-minded coaches at that point would put trust in their offense to convert that 4th and 1 and put the game on ice because the Vikings were out of timeouts. You you move the chains there. That's ball game. Victory formation. There you go. Kneel the clock out. And with the tush push, that's Nick Sirianni. The Eagles do the tush push. They convert. Game's over. I would like to see that. Sure. But I also understand the defensive side of that because the ball was at the 40-yard line. All the Vikings needed was about 20 yards to get into field goal range, and that's all they needed. I'm actually probably I'm harder on the decision to go for it on 4th and goal from the 4 instead of kick the field goal. Because at that point, yes, you're still making a 2-possession game into a 2-possession game. I get that. But there's a big difference between a touchdown and a field goal being a 2-possession game and a touchdown and a touchdown being a 2-possession game. That's 2 different times you have got to force the other team to go the length of the field and get into the end zone versus one time having to do that and then a second time only having to go a certain length to get a field goal. And I understand that Rodgers would have been beside himself. He was about to be beside himself, shooing everybody off, saying, no, we're going for this. I get it. I understand it. And if it were at the 2-yard line or the 1-yard line, I'm all for going for it on 4th and goal. From the 4, kick the field goal. Because then in that same situation we're talking about now, with that 4th and 1, you can go for it there or you can punt it there no matter what. But then that's great because now the Vikings have to go all the way down and score a touchdown instead of just move 20 yards to get in the field goal range. So Robert says, I'll take the sack every time, Chris. Everybody will. But a pressure still does. This is the one thing where I'm like, no, sacks and pressures are not the same, but it's not like pressures are not valuable. Everybody will take the sack every single time, of course. But what if a pressure forces an interception? Would you rather have a sack over the interception? Nope. Give me the pick. Give me the pick. Batman says it's 4th and living in your fears. Yeah. See, that's just something where you want to put everything into a narrative, into a Tomlin narrative. I get it. Like, I understand both sides of it. I do. And it's a tough coaching decision. Me personally, if I'm the head coach, I'm calling for tush push and I'm going for it and moving the chains. That's me. But I'm also more of an offensive-minded person. I think about football more from an offensive perspective than a defensive perspective. That's my personal bias toward how I view the game. That's not Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin is more of a defensive guy. I can guarantee you that if all 32 teams are faced with that situation, that Tomlin is not the only coach making that decision. That probably a lot of the defensive-minded coaches are also making the same decision he did. Because when you are a defensive-minded coach and you know your defense is playing well, which they were, 6 sacks, multiple picks, they were playing great. They had the one busted coverage that led to that touchdown eventually. But they were playing great. I understand a defensive-minded coach who has a defense that's playing very well, putting his defense on the field to win the game. I understand that. I understand both sides. I'm not saying at the time I was hard on the decision. I get it more now. Again, I'm still doing the other thing. I'm going the other way, but that's because I'm more offensive minded. That's just me though. That's just me. Oh, man, we're getting close to an hour, so I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. But I really appreciate you guys tuning in, especially for sticking with me, because you guys could have turned this on, seen that it's Chris and not DK, and been like, yeah, I'm flipping this off, whatever. I'll catch it tomorrow when DK's back. And I appreciate you guys, giving me a shout out on that. Really, again, thank you so much for not just tuning in today and sticking with me the entire time, but also for following our coverage. And if you don't have our app, I'll do the plug here. If you don't have our app, really, you got to download it. The app is free. You can download it from the Apple Store, from the Google Play Store. It's free. It's going to come with ads. You won't be able to comment. It's not great. You can message DK, email DK. It's just DK@DKPittsburghSports.com, spelled all the way out, and he will give you an insane discount on the app. That way you have full access to it. And I've seen what the discount is, and trust me, man, it's worth it. I mean, I'm doing live cues on the site tomorrow. If you get in, you can ask me a question tomorrow, just like every other subscriber can on our app. It's a great app. It's got a great commenting platform. We have a great community there. It's a lot of fun. We do live chats, obviously, during games. And even when the Steelers aren't playing, like when we get into the playoffs and the Steelers are bounced in the first round, we do live chats during, the AFC Championship game or the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. We do live, we call them live files, but they're live chats during every single game that we cover, from our reporter on the scene. And then everybody who's watching along, they can, yeah. It's a lot of fun. So go download the app. It's free. And the discount that DK is going to give you to get the premium version of the app is phenomenal. So anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will be back tomorrow, I think, at our normal time. We'll see. I will be on the south side again tomorrow. But until then, we'll see you guys with DK back. We'll be back to normal, almost back to normal, I guess. Maybe DK will still be kind of recovered. I don't know. He handled the jet lag really good. He said he didn't. I thought he handled it really well, but either way. Anyway, we'll catch you guys tomorrow. We'll see you later, man.